Hi, so let's talk about code, home inspections. Home inspector's job is to find issues. That is their job, to go in and show you everything in the house, good, bad, all the things that you're going to need to maintain, things that you need to know for the future. But a house is not built to code because today's code is different than how the house was built 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago. And a home is not required to be brought to code. So it is something that they're letting you know that this is how code is today. For example, GFI outlets, the 3-prong outlets that trip. If you were to drop your curling iron in the water while you're curling your hair, that is a GFI outlet that is meant to trip today. However, that's not going to be the case in homes built prior, most of them actually prior to 1970s. So needless to say, that's a lot of our housing stock, even sometimes even prior to 1980s, it had to be 1980s and newer. So I just want to talk about a lot of times the home inspector comes in and then the buyer says, look, there's all these items that are wrong. All this stuff needs to be fixed. It's not stuff that's wrong necessarily. It's stuff that they just want to make you aware of. These are things that maybe you want to update in the future. Maybe you want to be aware of. Maybe you want to change, but not something, let's face it, the house has been standing for 60 years or 70 years or 100 years. So it's not something that the house is necessarily going to crumble and burn down tomorrow, but it's something that they want to make sure that you know that these are things that you could change and update. Again, the house is not required to be brought up to code. The house is required to make sure that it is safe and it's livable. And even sometimes there will be things that they'll say, well, this might be a safety hazard like a GFI outlet, but are you gonna, turn your curling iron and drop it into the sink, right? Just things that are now the safety requirements of how things are built today and not necessarily how they were back then. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because we get a lot of question about safety and about required things. Is it required that the seller fix that or change that or do that? And it is not. So, a lot of times it's something that we work on a credit between the buyer and the seller, or we work on maybe getting certain major things fixed, but not necessarily everything on that list. The job of the home inspection is to find things that you weren't aware of when you walked in and looked at that house. There's mold in the attic maybe, or the electric panel is truly a fire hazard and is something that, has been recalled, or there's something leaking that we didn't, know was leaking. So it's the goal to find things that we weren't aware of, not necessarily to show you all the things that, would have been, we would have seen in the house. So I hope that helps a little bit. I know we'll talk about this further. As you have questions, comment below, give me a call, 815-275-6610. I hope this helps.